Beloved, today God is speaking directly to your heart, and His message is clear. Your breakthrough is coming, and when it arrives, it will silence every doubt that ever questioned your calling, your faith, or your future. There were moments when people doubted you, moments when circumstances made you doubt yourself, and moments when even your prayers felt like they were echoing in an empty space. But heaven was never silent. God was working behind the scenes, arranging what your eyes could not yet see. God says that the pressure you have been under was not meant to crush you, but to prepare you. Every delay, every closed door, every unanswered prayer was shaping your endurance and deepening your trust. You were being refined, not rejected. The enemy whispered that it was over, but God declares that it was only the beginning. What He is about to do in your life will not need an explanation, because the results will speak for themselves. God's promises are not delayed. They are being prepared at the right time, even when it feels like nothing is happening and heaven seems quiet. Many people confuse delay with denial, but God never confuses timing. What looks like waiting to you is often careful preparation in the hands of God. He sees the full picture while you only see the moment, and He knows exactly when a promise can be released without destroying you or overwhelming you. If God fulfilled everything the instant you asked, you might receive the blessing but lose the purpose behind it. That is why God allows seasons where nothing appears to move, yet everything is being aligned. In those waiting seasons, God is working on things you cannot control and people you cannot influence. He is arranging divine connections, removing hidden obstacles, and protecting you from outcomes you never prayed to avoid. Sometimes God delays an answer not because He is unwilling, but because He is merciful. He knows what would happen if the door opened too soon, and He loves you enough to wait until the moment is safe, sustainable, and meaningful. Your prayers have not been ignored. They have been stored in heaven and are being answered with precision. God also uses delay to build your capacity. A blessing that arrives before your faith matures can become a burden instead of a breakthrough. That is why God allows time to stretch you, strengthen you, and deepen your trust. In the waiting, you learn to rely on God instead of outcomes. You learn obedience without instant reward. You learn perseverance when emotions are tired. These lessons are not punishment. They are preparation. God never releases something valuable into unprepared hands. There were moments when you wondered if you heard God correctly, if the promise was real, or if you were simply hoping for something that would never come. But God says His word does not expire. What He spoke years ago still carries power today. Time does not weaken a promise from God, it strengthens it. The longer it takes, the more intentional the fulfillment becomes. God's promises are not rushed because they are rooted in eternity, not urgency. While you were waiting, God was shaping your character. He was teaching you patience, discernment, and humility. He was removing pride, fear, and dependence on people's approval. If the promise had come earlier, it might have elevated you before you were anchored. Now when the breakthrough arrives, it will not change who you are. It will confirm who you have become. That is why God allows the process to feel uncomfortable. Growth always is. God also delays because He wants the outcome to be undeniable. When the breakthrough finally arrives, no one will be able to say it was luck, coincidence, or human effort alone. The timing will be so precise that only God could have orchestrated it. The same people who questioned your faith will recognize God's hand in your life. The delay will become part of your testimony, proving that God's timing is perfect even when it feels painful. So do not rush God and do not lose hope. Every promise has an appointed time, and when that time arrives, nothing can stop it. God is never late. He arrives exactly when His glory will be revealed, your faith will be strengthened, and your life will be transformed in a way that brings Him honor. What feels delayed is actually being prepared, and what is being prepared will be worth the wait. Your faith is being tested not to destroy you, but to develop a testimony that will carry weight, authority, and truth. God never allows a test without purpose. Every challenge you face is revealing what is already inside you and strengthening what still needs to grow. Faith that has never been tested remains fragile, but faith that has endured pressure becomes unshakable. God knows that what He is preparing to do in your life will require a strong foundation, not shallow belief that collapses when circumstances change. There were moments when believing God felt easy, when prayers flowed naturally and hope felt strong. But there were also moments when faith became a daily decision, not an emotion. Times when you prayed and nothing changed. Times when you trusted and still experienced loss, disappointment, or silence. Those moments were not signs of weak faith, they were evidence of real faith. Anyone can believe when things are going well, but it takes genuine trust to keep believing when answers delay and outcomes are uncertain. God allows your faith to be tested because He is shaping your voice. One day when you speak about His goodness, people will listen because you did not only know God in comfort, but also in hardship. Your testimony will not be theory, it will be lived experience. You will be able to say that God sustained you when you were tired, guided you when you were confused, and remained faithful when everything else felt unstable. That kind of testimony cannot be learned, it must be lived. In the testing season, doubt often shows up uninvited. Doubt questions what God said, questions who you are, and questions whether the promise was ever real. But doubt does not disqualify you, it challenges you to choose faith again and again. Each time you choose to trust God despite doubt, your faith grows deeper roots. You stop relying on feelings and start standing on truth. You stop chasing signs and start trusting God's character. God also uses testing to strip away false confidence. Sometimes we trust more in methods, people, or timing than we trust in God Himself. When those supports are removed, faith becomes personal. You learn to pray without backup plans, to trust without guarantees, and to stand even when you stand alone. That kind of faith changes you. It refines your motives and purifies your dependence, making room for God to move in ways you never expected. Your testimony is being written in moments no one else sees. In private prayers, silent tears, and unseen obedience, God is recording every step of faith. Even when you feel like you are failing, heaven sees growth. Even when you feel weak, God sees endurance. Faith is not proven by how loudly you speak it, but by how consistently you live it. And every test you pass becomes part of a story that will strengthen others who are still struggling. God knows that one day your breakthrough will bring attention, and your testimony will be heard. That is why He is taking time to build credibility in your faith. When you speak about trusting God, it will not sound empty. When you talk about waiting, it will carry authority. When you declare that God is faithful, your words will carry evidence. The testing season is preparing you to speak life into others with integrity and power. So even now, as your faith is being stretched, God is close. He is not observing from a distance. He is walking with you through every test. Each challenge is adding depth to your story, strength to your faith, and meaning to your testimony, shaping something that will one day bring hope to many. Breakthroughs often arrive after seasons of silence and pressure, when it feels like nothing is moving and everything is heavy. God allows these seasons not to punish you, but to position you. Silence does not mean abandonment. Pressure does not mean failure. Often the greatest transformations happen quietly, away from applause, away from attention, and away from human validation. God works deeply in silence because that is where distractions are removed and dependence on Him is strengthened. There are moments when you pray and hear no immediate answer, when doors remain closed and when progress feels invisible. In those moments it is easy to assume God is distant or uninterested. But God is closest when He seems quiet. He is observing, refining, and aligning details you cannot see. Silence is often God's way of teaching you to listen with your heart instead of your circumstances. When everything else goes quiet, His voice becomes clearer to those who are willing to wait. Pressure reveals what comfort hides. When life is easy, faith can remain shallow, but when pressure increases, faith either grows or breaks. God allows pressure because it strengthens your spiritual muscles. Just as physical strength is built through resistance, spiritual strength is developed through challenge. Every moment of pressure is increasing your capacity to carry what God is about to release. What feels overwhelming now is preparing you to handle greater responsibility later. In seasons of silence and pressure, God reshapes your priorities. Things that once seemed important lose their grip, and things that truly matter come into focus. You learn the value of prayer over noise, obedience over approval, and trust over control. God uses these moments to detach you from distractions that would compete with the breakthrough He is preparing. Sometimes God has to remove your reliance on external confirmation so that you can fully rely on Him. Many people give up in silence because they mistake it for stagnation, but silence is often the final stage before movement. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface. Roots are forming where no one can see. God is strengthening the foundation of your breakthrough so that when it emerges it can stand. If the growth happened above ground first, it would collapse under its own weight. God's process protects what He plans to reveal. Pressure also purifies motives. In difficulty, you discover why you truly seek God. Is it for comfort or for relationship? Is it for results or for surrender? God allows pressure to remove selfish desires and replace them with purpose. This purification ensures that when the breakthrough comes, it will not lead you away from God, but draw you closer to Him. What you gain through pressure, you value differently. There were nights when the weight felt unbearable and mornings when strength felt low. Yet in those moments, God was teaching you endurance. Endurance is not loud. It is quiet persistence. It is choosing faith again after disappointment. It is showing up even when enthusiasm is gone. God honors endurance because it reflects trust that does not depend on emotion. Every day you continued despite the silence was a step closer to the breakthrough. God knows exactly how much pressure you can handle and exactly how long the silence needs to last. He never allows it to exceed your purpose. The breakthrough that follows will make sense of the waiting and give meaning to the struggle. What felt like delay will be revealed as divine timing, and what felt like pressure will be recognized as preparation for something greater. God's work in your life will speak louder than every doubt, accusation, and criticism that ever tried to define you. There are moments when defending yourself feels necessary, when explaining your side seems urgent, and when proving your worth feels exhausting. But God says you do not need to fight every battle with words. He is writing a story through your obedience, and the outcome will silence what explanations never could. When God moves, His results speak with authority that no argument can match. Doubt often comes from people who can only see your present, not your purpose. They judge based on what is visible now, unaware of what God is developing beneath the surface. Some voices questioned your choices, your patience, and even your faith. Others quietly watched, waiting to see if you would fail. God saw all of it. He allowed the watching because He intends to reveal something undeniable. What He is preparing will shift opinions without you having to say a word. There were times when the doubts became internal. You replayed past mistakes, measured yourself against others, and wondered if you truly qualified for what God promised. These moments were heavy, but they were also revealing. God used them to teach you that confidence cannot be built on approval or comparison. True confidence comes from knowing who called you. When God establishes you, no voice of doubt can uproot you. God's work speaks through consistency. While others expected you to quit, you remained faithful. While circumstances pressured you to compromise, you chose integrity. While progress felt slow, you continued to trust God. These quiet decisions are now forming a powerful testimony. God honors faithfulness in hidden places, and He rewards obedience that goes unseen. When the fruit appears, people will realize that what looked ordinary was actually divine preparation. God also uses outcomes to correct narratives. Stories that were spoken about you without understanding will be rewritten by what God does next. The same situation that caused questioning will become evidence of God's faithfulness. Where people assumed weakness, God will reveal strength. Where they expected failure, God will produce favor. His work does not just change circumstances, it changes perception. One of the greatest lessons God teaches is restraint. You were tempted to respond, to defend, to clarify. But God asked you to be still and trust Him. That silence was not weakness, it was wisdom. By allowing God to speak through results, you avoided unnecessary battles and preserved your peace. God fights differently than humans do. He uses timing, transformation, and truth instead of arguments. When God's work becomes visible, it will not bring pride, but peace. You will realize that the struggle to be understood was never your responsibility. God's validation is enough. The silence you maintained will be honored, the patience you practiced will be rewarded, and the doubts that once surrounded you will fade without confrontation. God is intentional in how He reveals His work. He waits until the moment is right, when hearts are ready and circumstances align. When that moment comes, the evidence of His hand will be clear. Your life will reflect His faithfulness in a way that no explanation could ever achieve. God's work will speak, and every doubt will have nothing left to say. Jesus' affirmations replace fear with divine confidence and peace, reshaping the way you see yourself and your future. Fear speaks loudly, constantly reminding you of what could go wrong, what you lack, and what you are not. It exaggerates uncertainty and convinces you that danger is closer than promise. But when Jesus speaks, His words carry authority that fear cannot challenge. He does not deny the reality of difficulty, but He redefines it through truth. His affirmations do not come to excite emotions temporarily, they come to establish your heart permanently. Jesus affirms you by reminding you that you are known. Before you ever doubted yourself, He knew your weaknesses and still chose you. Before you questioned your worth, He declared your value. Fear tries to isolate you, making you feel unseen and unsupported. But Jesus assures you that you are never alone. His presence is not dependent on your strength or consistency. Even when your faith feels small, His faithfulness remains complete. Fear often grows when identity is uncertain. When you are unsure of who you are, you become vulnerable to every negative voice. Jesus speaks directly into that vulnerability by affirming your identity in Him. He calls you loved, forgiven, and accepted. These affirmations create stability within you. When identity is rooted in Christ, circumstances lose their power to define you. You begin to move with confidence, not because life is predictable, but because Jesus is trustworthy. Jesus also replaces fear with peace by shifting your focus. Fear keeps your attention locked on outcomes, timing, and control. Jesus invites you to trust instead of manage. He teaches you to release what you cannot control and rest in what He has already secured. This peace does not depend on immediate answers. It flows from assurance. Even in uncertainty, His words calm the heart and quiet the mind. Divine confidence grows as you repeatedly receive Jesus' affirmation. Confidence in Christ is not arrogance. It is assurance without anxiety. It is the ability to walk forward without needing constant reassurance. Jesus affirms that He is with you wherever you go, strengthening you when you feel weak and guiding you when the path feels unclear. This confidence allows you to face challenges without fear controlling your decisions. Jesus' affirmations also bring healing to past wounds. Fear often originates from past experiences where trust was broken or hope was disappointed. Jesus does not ignore those wounds. He speaks restoration into them. His words remind you that your past does not disqualify your future. He affirms that what hurt you did not define you and what you lost did not limit what He can restore. This healing replaces fear with expectation. Peace becomes a lifestyle when Jesus' affirmations are consistently embraced. Instead of reacting to fear, you respond with faith. Instead of panicking over uncertainty, you trust His presence. This peace guards your heart and mind, protecting you from being overwhelmed by worry. It allows you to move forward with clarity, patience, and hope. Jesus' affirmations are not temporary encouragement, they are eternal truths. When fear rises, His words stand firm. When uncertainty increases, His peace remains. As you continue to listen to His voice above all others, divine confidence will replace fear, and lasting peace will settle within you, guiding every step you take.